And let's get right into the show. On the morning show, the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, the APC, Comrade Adams Oshiomhole, launched fresh attacks on his party members on Wednesday. Now, this time, it was on the Imo and Ogun state governors, Rochas Okorocha and Ibikunle Amosun, respectively, calling them electoral liabilities. He said the party would win the 2019 elections in their state, despite their alleged anti-party activities. Joining us this morning to analyze the party crisis in the states is the Director General of Voice of Nigeria and APC member, Osita Okechukwu. Good morning. Thank you for joining us and thank you for your patience. We do understand you've also been in our Abuja studio for quite a while now.
Thank you for your patience and thank you for joining us today.
Let us get right into it. In June this year, your party unanimously elected Comrade Adams Oshiomhole as your party chairman. Months down the line, very few members of your party, including yourself, are calling for his resignation at this time. Why? And what difference will it make?
Good morning, viewers. For us, we have decided to place the big picture ahead of us. We leave Comrade Adams Oshiomhole to battle with his conscience, and we also pray for him to recover from narcissism that he suffers from. So our big picture is what is more important. All the tendencies in the All Progressive Congress put President Muhammad Buhari's election as a united objective, because we want him to continue the good work he has started in terms of fiscal infrastructure, roads, rails, agriculture, and power. We said his project is the most massive by one regime since independence. He's embarking on 5,000 kilometers of federal roads, 5,000 kilometers of standard gauge rail line, additional 5,000 megawatts of electricity that have started with the Mambila hydroelectric power plant, which will generate over 3,000 megawatts of electricity, and the Enugu coal, which will generate about 1,000 megawatts of electricity. And there you talk of mini hydroelectric power plants and renewable energy. So that is where we are placing our emphasis, because the battle on the ground is the battle that President Muhammad Buhari is waging against a rogue culture, where those who depended on freebies and share the money are battling hard to return back to those share the money days. So we leave Adams Oshiomhole and his own narcissism behind us, because the Nigeria we serve, the Nigeria, our dear country, is more important than any of us. So let's not bother about what he says. I'm happy that His Excellency Amosu, Ibikunle Amosu, His Excellency Rochas Okorocha, and all other governors and members of the National and State Assemblies of the APC and all stakeholders are united on the big picture. How best do we re-elect President Muhammad Buhari? So let's not delve ourselves about it, because it's not what Oshiomhole said this morning that he will say the next day. He compounded the Imo State's imbroglio. On July 12th, during the launching of the rail line that goes to the airport from Abuja city center, I pleaded with him. I told him the Imo State APC mainstream had recovered APC from the hands of His Excellency Governor Rochas Okorocha. Please, don't hand over the APC to him. Because if you hand over the cup back to the monkey, it might be difficult to recover. So let's not go into that. If he didn't hand over, Senator Ararume couldn't have moved to Abga. Senator Osita couldn't have moved to Abga. It was because he handed back the party. That's why Rochas Okorocha is talking today about the APC. The APC was long recovered from him. The then chairman, Hilary Eke, if Oshimola had allowed Hilary Eke to remain the APC chairman, we could have long forgotten about His Excellency Rochas Okorocha and the APC. So let him not jubilate or try to dance over the graveyard where he buried the APC. So let's not talk about Oshimola, please. Can we talk straight on the big picture? Why are those people fighting Buhari? What has he done to them? What he has done to them is that through the TSA, the Treasury Single Account System, he had domiciled public fund under one channel, easier to monitor. Those who used to share the money, who used to bank in different banks, like an agency like Voice of Nigeria, before I came in, Voice of Nigeria had about 9 accounts in different banks. Those are the things they are fighting today.
So
Those
Mr.
are
Osita,
what they are grappling with. They want to return.
So Mr. Osita, but
Yes.
you've been talking about the big picture. I believe the biggest picture right now, as we actually get to the 2019 election, is what is happening within the internal democracy and what we're seeing unraveling within the APC. So are you saying that there is no hope for reconciliation and resolution of the crisis in your party, despite the internal dispute resolution mechanisms that have been put in place to resolve all this issue, bringing in governors to try to quash this particular? Are we beyond resolution right now?
What I'm saying is that the big picture is the solution to all the antithesis that Comrade Oshimole bred. Immediately on February 16th, when President Muhammadu Buhari announced the winner of that election, the local units will find a way to resolve themselves. So let's not bother ourselves about the internal mechanism. A lot of people had made a hype of an internal mechanism of democracy. Throughout history, anybody that talks organization talks oligarchy. There are those who are the founders of this party called the APC. There are those who hold the ace in different states. Those are what Comrade Oshimola and so did not understand. He went ahead to talk of direct primaries without ballot papers, without ballot boxes, without training those who will manage the electoral process. Even the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, that has served since 1978 to date, is grappling with management of the electoral process. So it's not something somebody sits somewhere and his own imagination and narcissism. He says, I'm bringing the party back to the people. Which people? The people are the party themselves. The better you do it, the better for them. The crisis in those states couldn't have arisen if he had adhered to pragmatism, rationality, and reasonableness. So let's go for the big picture. In all the corners of the country, President Muhammadu Buhari is having more support than he used to have before. In the southeast region where I come from, the support he had today is more than what he had in 2015. And luckily for us, it's across party lines. It's bipartisan. The support he has is bipartisan. Those who believe sincerely that with fiscal infrastructure, the hardworking people of Nigeria, the entrepreneurial youths, the hardworking women will be leveraged to prosperity. And it cannot be done in a jiffy. Today, it costs over 100 million to build a kilometer of roads. If President Muhammadu Buhari had decided to use those money to start sharing, maybe some of these people could have been happier. But he said no. If you don't have adequate electricity, you cannot have an industrial base.
Okay. All right,
because
Mr.
the
Osita.
products produced by manufacturers will not be cheap. Please, come on.
All right, Mr. Osita. Are you in agreement with President Buhari, who has advised aggrieved members to go to court, aggrieved party members to go to court to seek redress? Would you consider this an option? And
I
don't you
agree
think
with
that
Mr.
it will exacerbate an already tense situation?
No, no, no. Democracy is not like Oshimole thinks. It's not cherry picking. It is not you take this, you leave that. Underlining democratic principle, the finest tenet is the rule of law. And Mr. President told you that he's now a convert Democrat. And as a convert, most converts are adherents and passionate believers of what they're converting. And that's President Muhammadu Buhari. He himself had been in court severally. Oshimole even recovered his own mandate through the courts. So the fine tenets of democracy is the rule of law. And I agree 100% with President Muhammadu Buhari that the rule of law must triumph over the dictates of autocrats. That's the truth of the matter. So I cannot disagree with Mr. President. I agree with him 100%. But as I said, luckily for us in the APC and the Nigerian people, the presidential election is coming first. So let's pay attention to the presidential election. Immediately we triumph, which by God's power, we have a probability ratio of 70-30. So when we triumph, then the local issues will be resolved.
Yes, but some of your members have shunned the internal dispute resolution mechanism of your party and have refused to head to the courts. Instead, governors like Ibikunle Amosun of Ogun State, Rochas Okorocha of Imo State have encouraged their anointed successors, state assembly members, and other supporters to defect to other parties to contest the elections while themselves remaining in the APC. Isn't that treachery and sheer chaos of the highest order?
No, there's no treachery there. The point of the matter is that Amosu, if I understand what happened, went ahead with his own people to conduct an election. A similar election was conducted in Lagos. Clement Abri, that headed the panel that went to Lagos, told the Nigerian people that there was no election. The next day, he owned up that election. I think that's what Amosu expected to happen. So, but let's not go into that. Amosu and his own tendency in Ogun State, Dakpo, Abiodun and their own tendency, all of them are in unison in support of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes,
Same
but as you said
in Imo
earlier,
State,
sir,
same
you don't
in
get to
Zamfara
cherry
State.
pick. You made the point earlier that you don't get to cherry pick. You support a party or you oppose a party. You cannot say you're supporting at presidential level, but be in open defiance at gubernatorial level. This kind of conduct has earned other members of your party with threats of expulsion. People who have sought legal recourse have been threatened with expulsion, but this has not been the case with the rebellious governors. Why the double standard?
Guess what? He had made the 2019 election more interesting. There will be more mobilization by all the tendencies. Don't forget that in previous elections in Nigeria, if we have to count by history, especially for some of us who do not have foresight, we rely on history. In previous elections, we had less than 40% electoral voters coming out to vote, which is our party. But now, with all the tendencies is that all of them will move to the electorate and mobilize. Because in the electoral distributive curve, all membership of all the parties from APC, PDP, ABGA, Labour, down to ACPN, would not constitute up to 30% of the electoral population. That's demography. Do a study on that. So don't get so infatuated on what is happening in the political party. Look at the electorate broadly. So if, because of the antithesis, nobody prayed for the antithesis. There was one Godwin Eraho. He used to be the public secretary of the APC in Edo State. When Mr. President, after visiting the then Governor Oshimole in Edo State, he said he had done so well and he needs a higher appointment. Godwin Eraho went to an interview in Tel magazine and pleaded that please don't make Comrade Oshimole chairman of the APC. If you are giving him another assignment, better. 2 weeks after that, Oshimole sacked him. But he's vindicated today. So we don't want to go into that. What we're saying is that the APC tendencies will mobilize more people than they could have done if there was no antithesis. So it's the nature of antithesis. It's going to lead to a synthesis. And the synthesis is the election of President Muhammadu Buhari.
Mr. Osita, you keep talking about the big picture. But going into 2019, if the electorates don't see the APC, both at state and national level, as not being a united, indivisible unit, why do you think they will vote for them? Because right now, it's not just what is happening in the states. We're talking about the national APC already fighting with the state APC, as the national leader talking about Comrade Adam Ali Oshomole is going against governors in not just Ogun and Imo State, but other states are actually involved. Enugu State also are involved in this particular fracas. What makes you think that if the electorate are not seeing APC as one, they will think that this is the party that will take them to the promised land in 2019?
My brother, if you live in Shagamu and you see standard rail line getting almost completed from Lagos to Ibadan, that will make somebody to live in Ibadan, wake up in the morning, under 1 hour, he's in Lagos. After the day's business, he's back in Ibadan. You will not remember the intricacies and the tantrums going on in the political party. If you live in Enugu State and you are waiting for Honorable Minister Amechi, Rotibe Amechi, to announce the Eastern Rail Line, which he had advertised and tendered for, and you see job starts in the Eastern Rail Line, you will not talk about the party. Your big picture is those infrastructure. There is also a contract that NNPC is about awarding that will take gas pipeline across the whole country. If you are in Nnewi, one of the industrial hubs of the country, and you see the gas pipeline coming to Nnewi, I don't know, you will not remember APC. What do you remember is President Muhammadu Buhari.
Okay, Mr.
If you are in
Mr.
Kano,
Okechukwu,
and you could see...
Mr. Okechukwu, sorry to butt in here, but not to hold brief for your party chairman. However, before he became your party chairman, he already vowed to say that the party will be subjected to the party supremacy and that nobody is above the party. In his defense, he says these governors have had a full day and that it will no longer be business as usual. He has brought change to your party. After all, your party promised change to Nigerians and charity must begin at home.
My sister, I told you earlier, let us leave Comrade Oshimole to battle with his conscience, whether he did well or he did badly in the management of the primaries. And let's pray for him as well to recover from narcissism. So let's look at what the man in Kano, the man in KB, the man in Abakaliki, he's saying, where is the agricultural money? We want to integrate the rice project in Abakaliki. That is what bothers him. He wants to advance himself to prosperity. And he has seen the lights at the tunnel, that this has happened in Kebbi State, that is going to happen in Enugu, it's going to happen in Abakaliki, it's going to go to Kebbi, to Ekiti State, it's going to go to Oshu. That's what Nigerian people are looking for. The man that sits in the Ondo bitumen have seen the Ministry of Solid Mineral of Steel Development that advertised and had gotten some money to put the bitumen into work. That's where we're concerned.
Okay, Mr.
So
Osita, let's
people
move
are
on.
looking at the primary needs of themselves.
All right, let's move on. The campaigns have kicked off, and we have seen some kind of motion from the presidential campaign team of the main opposition candidate, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. On the other hand, your party's presidential campaign appears to be stuck in a rut. When will the incumbent president start going around the country to seek votes of the electorate? Does he even have the capacity to do so? Or is he going to be heavily dependent on his deputy, Professor Yemi Osibanjo, to embark on door-to-door campaigning?
for the incumbent, his business is to advance the policies on the ground, not just to go and start cursing people, trying to say this one has failed. His Excellency Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, I had tremendous respect for him. I saw him saying in Ibadan, this man had disappointed the Nigerian people. The 18 million inhabitants of Ibadan are looking at a rail line that had not been there under the 60 years of the PDP, standard gauge rail line, that runs at 100 to 150 kilometers an hour. That will take them to Lagos, and you are telling them they are disappointed. Please, let us not listen to the tantrums, the hypes, the propaganda. It's part of the juice of democracy. President Muhammadu Buhari is an incumbent. When he saw the ambassador of France yesterday, can I finish?
Okay, sir.
He received the ambassador of France yesterday. And what he's talking about is the relationship between France and our neighbors, the French countries. And he's also saying the French government should find useful investment to be done in Nigeria. So he doesn't need to go out to curse Atiku Abubakar or to say he disappointed the Nigerian people. His business is that he had laid down plans. I have it here. The major issue he has is the roads. Where will he find money for the roads? 5,000 kilometers. Where will he find money for the rails? Because those in the eastern axis are saying, Mr. President, you have done this in the West. What about us? That's what concerns Mr. President. It's not about rallies. Do you know what it costs Mr. President to move around for rallies? Mr. President wants to save that money for boreholes, for increase in infrastructure. So he's going to come to the rally. Nigerian people knows him. I was in Cameroon in 2006, thereabout. We went to observe an election. I asked the Minister of Information in Cameroon, we did not see Paul Biya. He said Paul Biya is busy. Mr. President is busy. It is the left for the opposition to run around the country.
A little follow-up on the question.
More than us.
A little follow-up on the question you're asking. You're being very dismissive.
That's what I'm saying. We're incumbents.
Okay, you're being very dismissive.
The incumbent is not stuck. The incumbent is carrying policies. We are not deviating from our policies. President Muhammadu Buhari is battling.
Mr. Osita, can I just jump in here?
The culture he met.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah?
You're being very dismissive about the germane issues on board. First of all, you said the internal wranglings in the APC should not be looked at, that it will not hurt the APC going into the 2019 elections. Right now, you're also saying that rather than the president probably campaigning, he doesn't need to because he's busy trying to stay canvas for cash around the world to probably build infrastructure. But that sentiment is not shared by all, because a lot of people are still, the jury is still out on the president, whether or not he's actually performed very, very well. Are you banking on the fact that the president has the full support of Nigerians to go into 2019, win, and carry on to 2023? Or is the APC that confident that they will not even want to campaign and they believe they've done enough job and every single Nigerian is actually convinced that the president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, has done a stellar job over the course of the last 3 years, probably nine going to 10 months?
Please, try to do a demarcation. If you were the chairman of any of the banks or the managing director, you might not be happy with President Muhammadu Buhari because you were costing government money, trading with money, and there was no infrastructure, deficit infrastructure. You were on the hype of Nigeria is now the largest economy in Africa. We are beating South Africa. When poverty is growing by the day, gross unemployment growing, and then there's a president that says, gentlemen, what do we do to curb the gross unemployment? Because it has led to insecurity. It has led to hopelessness. And they said, sir, there's no electricity. If you get us electricity, Nigerians will advance to prosperity because more people will be liberated and unbundled. Sir, there's no modern transport. What the PDP awarded in 2004 thereabout was old gauge, going from Lagos to Kano at $8.3 billion. President Muhammad Buhari is awarding at a cheaper rate, standard gauge. The old gauge is about 30, 35 kilometers per hour, while the standard gauge is 100 to 150 kilometers per hour.
Mr. Okechukwu,
Those are the
can I
changes
jump
we're
in here,
talking.
please?
The change is the battle against a road.
Mr. Okechukwu, may I interrupt, please? Your emphasis appears to be on transport, but we also have to look at the poverty index of this country. And there's been an article in Business Day yesterday that struck a chord. It said that shareholders had allegedly expressed concern over the move by the Central Bank of Nigeria to transfer 16 billion naira out of the 60 billion agribusiness and small and medium enterprise scheme, a voluntary initiative of the Bankers Committee approved at its 31st of February meeting to trade money, a direct cash initiative amounting to 10,000 naira, which has been dispersed to market women in select states in the country. This has been criticized by some as an attempt to induce the electorate to vote for the APC in 2019. What is your response to the purported charge expressed by the stakeholders in the banking industry, given that it appears that this government has caused poverty and is now trying to bribe the people suffering from this poverty into voting for them?
There's a saying where I come from, that if you do not know where the rain started, you will not have a solution to the rain. They have told us this Washington consensus paradigm. The private sector had to drive the economy. They are efficient, mobile, can lead to growth, privatize everything. The public sector is indolent, corrupt, this and that. A paradox exists. Few weeks ago, a bank collapsed, the same private sector management, the Sky Bank. The Central Bank of Nigeria used over 700 billion naira to rescue that bank. If 700 billion naira was advanced to those traders and minor and medium small entrepreneurs, for us, on the center of the left, it is a more useful investment than trying to enrich the corrupt elite. Ask me, is there any bank in Nigeria? If you borrow people money on 30% or 20 or 15, you are not a bank. Because there's no rational or credible investment you can do with 20% interest rate. It can't be done anywhere in the world. It's not done, so don't even call them banks. What kept the Nigerian banks is armed robbers. Otherwise, people could have just kept their money under their pillow. So we don't have banks. What can you borrow? You want to build a hotel in Abuja or in Lagos or in Port Harcourt. You borrow 100 million naira
Mr.
at 30%, you will collapse.
Mr. Okechukwu, can I ask you this question? Imagine a scenario where the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria, allows a bank to collapse, and there's a run on the bank. Does this not have more significant impact on our economy, given depositors' funds being lost and other factors?
And that's what I'm saying, my sister. We are coming from the people's side. We're not talking of the 1%. The 1% is what made PDP to fail. And I could hear His Excellency, Atiku Abubakar, talking the same language of that 1%, because that's where he belongs. We're talking of the 99% of Nigerians that have been pauperized by this same set of people who told us they privatized it, they privatized that, and we are zero. They'll tell you about the communication industry, the telephone. But they will not tell you that the telephone did not grow because NITEL was privatized. No. The individuals, the MTN that invested, did not invest with Nigerian fund. The Globalcom did not invest with our money. So please, the market between the telecom success and the mess we found in our aluminum smelter in Akwa Ibom, which the state could have revived. How much is AMCON owing the Nigerian people? Over 5 trillion. We see President Muhammad Buhari going around the world trying to plead for loan to develop us. If we had used 5 trillion naira to develop this economy, we could have been better off. So you are talking about the 1%.
We're about wrapping up
are
this
the people that kept us where we are.
Mr. Osita, we're about wrapping up this question. We just have one final question for you, Mr. Osita. You were one of the relatively early appointees of this government as the Director General of the Voice of Nigeria. However, we have heard less from you on the agency that you head. Instead, we have heard more from you as the pseudo-spokesman of the administration, supporting and defending the policies of this government. What is the current state of the VON? How far is it reached, and how many listeners do you have?
The VON, when I came in, was linear on shortwave. And I said we must grow with technology. That out of 6 time zones on Earth, about 3 or 4.5 are no more buying transistor radios. They have gone digital. So the little money we met, we invested. If you go through the NTA, I think I had to plead with Arise as well to give us a bar that would tell the Nigerian people that Voice of Nigeria is now in your handset. In an application called Simple Radio, Tuning Radio, and Radio Garden. Why we did so is that those in Alaska are no more using a transistor radio. The only radio they have is in their cars. And what they tune to is FM radios. So we now said, while we maintain the shortwave, let us expand with technology. We now have a webcast that also reports instantly whatever happens in Nigeria and Africa to the outside world. So those are not issues that if you listen to us or go to the NTA bar, you will see us being reminded that this is what VON had done. While we kept the shortwave alive, we also moved because we are looking for our audience. Because the audience is the broadcaster. Today, audience is the broadcaster. So we have done that in VON under 2.5 years. That will return VON to your handset so that even at your toilet, you can listen to us in Simple Radio. If you go to the website as well, you see what we're doing. And we still maintain the shortwave radio.
Many thanks, Mr. Osita Okechukwu. Unfortunately, that is the much we can take at this time on the morning show. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, it's now time
for a short break.
Great.